Those Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads are weird, like fascist weird.
Did American Eagle just run an ad for eugenics?
The attractive white woman with blonde hair, blue eyes is talking about just the genes she gets from American Eagle.
You see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman and think that is an all-American woman. That is the exact problem with this advertisement.
Hey, American Eagle, now do black and brown women.
Hey, you want to go to American Eagle?
Oh, I can't go in there because I'm black.
I think we should just start shaming them instead. You are an embarrassment, Sydney Sweeney.
We have only normalized white people, and so we've made white women's bodies, white male bodies, the norm, and we've made everything else less human, less beautiful, less real.
We live in the world that is marked with a lot of cultural baggage.
Two things. One, you specifically said let's not interrupt each other, and I haven't been able to articulate one sentence yet, and I've been interrupted twice.
The ad is racist and eugenics coded.
I point out a history of white supremacist logics and cultures that show that white lives, white bodies, white experiences are better, and you pointed to the recent
This is not about history.
Please let me finish. You pointed to the influx of fat people on ads as a piece of counter evidence. I'm not disputing your argument about fat people. I'm not disputing your argument about skinny people.
All I'm saying is that
I know what you're saying. You said it. I'm saying now let me say it. I'm saying that there's a history of white people being superior in terms of how we understand them in this country.
So is Sydney Sweeney the new poster girl for white supremacy, or is it all, as one commentator put it, just ugly girl jealousy?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So here we go again, folks. Another Piers Morgan Uncensored. And you might be thinking, what in the hell are we even talking about today? What is on the minds of the left and the right? Oh, it seems to be genes, as a matter of fact. I love this. Like, we have all these problems out in the world. We've got everything that Trump is doing, which is great. And we can't get a win to save our lives, according to the left, even though we're just winning and winning and winning and winning and winning. And what do? Oh, we're going to talk about this racist dog whistle of a commercial over here that they're reading way too deeply into. But hey, it is what it is. We're going to get into all that. Y'all smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. And by the way, we also go over news. My regular videos, we cover news and politics. And I show you how you're being manipulated by corporate press news articles, because they're definitely manipulating everything. And y'all share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. If you could, you might be so inclined to look right below the video and click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That is the best way to help this channel grow and prosper and be the best possible channel that I can be, folks. But without any further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, let me start with you, Dr. Anastasia. What's your problem with this ad? I mean, I just saw Sydney Sweeney looking hot, selling jeans. What memo didn't I get?
I would love to live in a world where more people would have the privilege to look at this ad and simply see an ad for great jeans, but that's not the world that we live in. And we live in the world that is marked with a lot of cultural baggage. So when I saw this ad as a marketer, as somebody who works with agencies and brands on issues of culture and cultural relevance, I was frankly angered. And the reason for that is that the ad is racist and eugenics coded. And I have to be clear that when I say that, I don't mean to talk about the intent of the creators behind this ad, but rather the impact that it has on audiences, and particularly on younger audiences. And here we need to remember that the target audience of American Eagle is the most racially and ethnically diverse consumer group in the history of the United States. And somebody who has spent a lot of time studying semiotics and the way that meaning is encoded in various forms of media and cultural artifacts, it becomes very clear to me that when we take apart this particular ad campaign, it marries certain concepts and certain words that carry cultural baggage for people. And if that wasn't enough, we can go back and look to the source material for this particular campaign, which is a Calvin Klein ad from 1980 that uses very explicitly the same kind of rhetoric of, and even more so rather dramatically, natural selection, survival of the fittest, selective mating, the superiority of dominant groups, etc. And from a perspective of media and cultural studies, when we look at this particular campaign, we can see how meaning travels from the source of inspiration to this particular narrative structure that we see in this ad. And so it is no surprise to me that it was picked up by audiences that reacted in the way that they did. And research shows, even though obviously Gen Z are in themselves a diverse group, they're also generally, on average, more progressive leaning and, of course, chronically online.
Crazy? You mean crazy?
Anastasia,
I mean, you don't have
Anastasia,
to
we
be-
haven't had you on Uncensored before. I didn't really understand a word of what you just said. Are you this much fun at parties, or do you have a different persona
I would love
there?
it if you weren't disrespectful to me. It's a pleasure to join you today, and I look forward to exchanging opinions. I would love to clarify any points that you might have found confusing.
Now, this is part of the reason why Piers Morgan just can't be taken seriously half the time. That was a pretty decent analytical breakdown of, kind of from the marketing perspective, from the woke left that I've seen. That's pretty good. She wasn't getting pissed off about it. She was just going into it, analyzing what was there, and breaking it down from a woke left perspective. And I give her props for doing so without showing any emotion. It was very, very dispassionate, if you will. But, she's wrong. She's just absolutely wrong. Like, her main supposition here is that they're targeting Gen Z, which is the most diverse, right? But that's not really what's going on here. It's just an ad, right? It's a lot more simple than that. She goes into all this, this is Nazi propaganda and it's eugenics and all this other stuff. Well, no, it's none of these things. She's just saying she has good genes and that's it. We're not going into how their genes are better, any of that stuff. It's none of those things. It is just a campaign, an ad campaign for blue jeans, for crying out loud. Let's get over ourselves on this and stop over-analyzing commercials. They're targeting Gen Z. This is how ad campaigns have always borne themselves out for a very, very long time. They use sexy women or sexy men or whatever the hell, and they throw these into the ad campaigns, and it is what it is. It works. It sells. It makes them money. So they're going to continue to go with that playbook over and over and over and over and over again. It doesn't matter how much the left whinges or how much the right cries about this. It doesn't matter. Of course, the right's not crying about this, but you get it. Like when Lizzo did her ad campaigns and all that other stuff, right? Like the right's like, but they're just celebrating obese people, which it kind of is doing that. But, there is a market for that out there. So, look, I get it. I totally get it. I don't get aggravated by these campaigns. Look, you might make a stupid ad campaign like Bud Light did with Dylan Mulvaney targeting trans people. Like, why would you target somebody with mental issues? Especially for beer. Like, that didn't make any sense at all. And hey, look, the boycott worked. We're tired of the woke propaganda. We're tired of the over-analyzing of cultural issues because most of the time it's not that deep. But let's keep going, y'all.
Okay, Martin Monhill, let's look at an earlier American Eagle ad, which was in the middle of the whole Me Too campaign and stuff. Do you have any problem with the lady on the left there?
Do I have a problem with her? No, I don't have a problem with her.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem
You're
with the
not
woman
offended
on the
by that image?
I'm not.
Fascinating.
No.
You do have a problem with the woman on the right.
No, hold on. Two things. One, you specifically said let's not interrupt each other, and I haven't been able to articulate one sentence yet, and I've been interrupted twice. So let's follow your own rules.
No, I want to.
I'm not offended by the woman on the left. Let me complete the sentence. I am not offended by the woman on the left, nor am I offended by the woman on the right. The aha that you're going for isn't there because I'm saying I am not offended by either woman. But I am, please, I'm asking respectfully, allow me to finish a thought. Two people have spoken uninterrupted for 3 minutes. I haven't gotten 10 seconds out. What I'm saying is that the problem is not either woman. The problem is how we're narrating the commercial. That's what people are concerned about. Several things have been said that I'd like to respond to in direct response to what you're asking me, Piers. The first thing, and I'm glad the last woman who spoke mentioned that she's Jewish because I think that's really important. Historically, there have been lots of anti-Semitic images, narratives, tropes that are used that non-Jews don't see. And many times someone will say, oh, wait a minute, they showed that person playing into the cabal narrative. They showed this person as a rodent, or they showed this person with changing their name to this or that. And the average person may not intend to be anti-Semitic, although some people are anti-Semitic, but it's still there and Jews recognize it. So I don't want to presume that because a white person doesn't see it, that means that it can't be racist, or if a black person doesn't see you know what I'm saying? We have to think about this on all levels from multiple audiences. You used the word normal and talked about it in the context of this white woman. White women are normal, but so are other people. The problem is, historically, we have only normalized white people. And so we've made white women's bodies, white male bodies, the norm. And we've made everything else less human, less beautiful, less real. And so when we say good genes are the ones that—
What a load of crap. Honestly, I'm sorry, Mark. If I may jump in on my own show, what a load of crap. I saw Beyonce do a jeans ad. Everybody drooled over it. I loved it. Thought she looked hot when she did. Right? I mean, what are you talking about, man? This is... Let me ask you a straight question. Let me ask you a straight question. Does Sydney Sweeney have bad genes? Yes or no?
No. I don't think she has bad genes.
So she has good genes? Does she have good genes?
No. Again, you're trying for these gotchas. If you just
she doesn't
listen,
have good or bad genes.
The whole point is to argue that good and bad genes itself is a bad idea. It's a racist
Why can't
idea.
you have good genes, Mark?
Why is it racist?
If
Why
you
can't
will
you
allow
have
me
good
to
genes?
All right, I'm going to respond, and I'm going to hope that you don't interrupt me as I answer, okay? Because again, no one else has been interrupted except the people who disagree with you. What I'm saying is,
Stop being so precious, please.
The word you listen. The word eugenics literally means good genes. It literally means that etymologically. The point here is to judge human beings based on their genes and to decide that you have good genes and you have bad genes isn't in and of itself a racist project. That's the point. So no, it's not that I think that I have good genes and you can't say anyone else has good genes. I'm saying let's get rid of the good genes narrative, particularly when it's based on hair and eyes and body type. Why? Because those things are racially coded. In other words, if I say that straight hair is good genes or blonde hair is good genes, and no, I'm not after watching an ad, Googling someone to figure out their natural roots. You'd be shocked to know how many people don't do that. If I'm doing these things and I see your eye color and your hair as a sign of your good genes, then that means someone who has a different hair or eye color doesn't have good genes. And the last thing I'll say is if you look historically at ads, at culture,
it doesn't though, does it? Calm down. Calm down. It doesn't actually mean that.
No.
Hang on. No, I will speak on my own show. So just calm down.
I'm asking you not to be condescending.
Stop being so precious. My instruction about shouting was between the four of you, not me. It's my show. I do what I like.
Yes, I don't care if it's your show,
point is this.
If you interrupt me in the first minute, it's bad form. I'm saying that if you let the guest who agreed with you talk for 3 minutes, then don't allow me to talk for more than 1 second. You literally didn't let me finish the first sentence.
You have literally done more talking than all three other guests put together, multiple
that is not
by
true.
2 or 3. So
that's not true, but my issue with you interrupting was not at this point. It was at the first 10 seconds. My point was just to interrupt me in the first 10 seconds. So
Can you
much I've
calm
spoken now is
down?
irrelevant.
Can you calm down?
I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm talking over you.
Right.
Can I jump in here,
I have
Piers?
blue eyes. Right. I also have good genes, particularly on my mother's side, because my skin is surprisingly good for a person of my age, because my mother's side all had good skin. You got a problem with that? Mark?
Is that for me?
You got a problem with that? Yes. If I say I've got good genes from my mother because I have good skin and I've got blue eyes, so what?
So what color eyes are what color eyes are bad genes? If someone has bad genes, what would their hair or skin look like?
I don't think any are bad. I didn't see anybody from American Eagle saying that anybody else is.
No one said anything.
No one from just to be clear. Hang on. Nobody from American Eagle was making any comparison.
Okay, so I just want to clear up one thing. You know, Mark Lamont Hill was coming in talking about eugenics means good genes. That's what it means. Yeah, but it meaning good genes isn't racially motivated at all. As a matter of fact, that's not even what it means. It kind of means that, but not really. because it could go in any direction that you want it to go. The study of how to arrange reproduction with a human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. What does that mean? You could take, I don't know, say a black man and a white woman, that they have certain characteristics that you want in a child, and mix those two together, and the outcome might be desirable, but it might not be desirable, right? And you keep doing that study over and over and over again, right? This is fascinating because none of it is racist. If you replace the actor Sydney Sweeney with anybody else, is the commercial controversial? It's absolutely not. And that's fascinating because it kind of delves into the mind of some of these people, and it shows you a portal into how they perceive the world, right? They see this commercial, a black man sees the commercial and thinks, oh, this is racist. Oh, this is Hitler propaganda, Nazi propaganda, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? It's all nonsense. That's just how they view it. But you got to look at the motivations behind the people that created the commercial. What do they want? American Eagle, for crying out loud. What do they want? They want to sell clothes. So you get a marketing campaign that puts a sexy woman out there in some jeans. Then you do a play on words. She has good jeans. And it's funny and people get it. But once again, some people just look way too deeply into this subject. And then they want to take it to all these places where it doesn't belong. Most of the time, like I said, it's much more simple than what people would believe. They love to overanalyze things. They want to throw their racism on top of it. Oh, my racism. Oh, we got to stand up for the oppressed. This is all Marxist nonsense is what it is. These people are trying to insert their ideology on top of this ad campaign that they have no idea for the motivational incentive behind making the ad campaign, for crying out loud. It doesn't make any sense. But hey, they can get on the internet and whinge about it all day long. But the fact comes back to it that, look, this is your own opinion. But once again, what are we even talking about here? We're going to talk about canceling American Eagle because they put out an ad? How come nobody got behind this racist nonsense when Lizzo did an ad campaign for them, right? Once again, the problem with going in on this racist eugenics angle is there's no evidence to support it at all. There's none whatsoever. You can say that, but that doesn't mean it's true. And if you have no evidence to back up your supposition, then what are we even arguing here? But the argument continues. So let's keep going.
Let me respond to that, because from a marketing point of view, sure. American Eagle several years ago launched a lingerie campaign featuring female models with disabilities and chronic illnesses. One model was pictured wearing a colostomy bag, another was photographed with her arm in crutches, one woman posed in her wheelchair, and it did nothing for sales. So from a marketing point of view, it didn't work. Now you have a hot woman who is none of those things, who is just a hot woman like the old advertising used to use all the time, along with hot men. I remember the Calvin Klein jean ads with men, topless, selling buckets of jeans. And guess what? Sales are up 30%. So you as a marketer should say, well done, American Eagle. You've stopped being ridiculously woke, trying to sell to very small groups of people and ignoring the mass majority who are going to buy your jeans. And now you've gone route one, using sex and femininity to sell jeans. And by the way, they don't care if she's white or black or anything else. They just care that she's hot. And Beyonce sold jeans. That was a great campaign. That worked really well because she's a hot black woman. And the moment you try and read in all this other stuff, I mean, you say you don't want to be inflammatory. You literally said it was one of the most outrageously racist marketing campaigns ever. What could be more inflammatory than that?
Well, let me correct you, Piers. I said that I've seen in recent years. I'm very careful with my words. So I did not paint this picture of this being a racist ad, ever. But I do think, and I think I've explained the way that representation works and the way that I see it working within this ad. Now, I would love to see the evidence for the 30% sales spike. I personally have not seen it. Neither I have seen, anyone in the marketing community share it. So I would would love to see it and the source for that. However, there is a question of ethics and there is a question of ethical guardrails in marketing. I understand that in 2020 or whenever, brands were responding to the cultural moment of post-2020 impulse to increase representation, diversity, etc. And perhaps those campaigns were not commercially successful. Now, do I think that commercial outcomes justify any kind of campaign that implies anything out there just because it drives sales? Well, no, as a marketer, I am interested in driving business results, but also thinking about the ethics of representation and what kind of messages are young girls and children, frankly, consuming when they log on to their Instagram or TikTok and keep swiping. And again, I said, I take a more balanced approach to this. I do not think it was intentional propaganda, as I have already said, but I do think that there are some codes within this marketing media communications, which is a unit of media, that are concerning in the way that they are implying that good grade genes are represented by someone like Sweeney. Now, other co-panelists mentioned if another particular model of other kind of background or maybe multiple models were featured, there's likely would not be an uproar. And that is because that kind of messaging carries cultural baggage, as I've mentioned, that is reflective of the history of racism in this country.
No,
and the way that
Anastasia, that was me.
Because she's hang on. Because she's white. Hang on. Because she's white and got blue eyes. Is that why?
Because the verbal cues surrounding this terminology that carries a lot of cultural weight, such as offspring, great genes, are paired with these other signifiers that are very specific: blue eyes, blonde skin, etc. And you have to understand that this is just a reality of how our brains work. We move through life and we develop these conceptual and mental maps.
So you don't like it because she's white and got blue eyes. All right.
That's not why,
Deborah Lee.
That is very dismissive and anti-intellectual.
Hang on. We're going to go in the right order.
Okay, now, she's totally right about that. Like, our minds are, it works in mysterious ways, if you will, and we're still trying to figure that out scientifically, but even still, so what? So what? She's totally right, but who cares? Right? Like 60% of the population in America is white. So, according to these people, are we not supposed to make any commercials with white people? And if we do, does that mean it's all racist and eugenics based? Like, no, it doesn't mean that. Right? You gotta focus your ad campaigns to where you're gonna make sales. If 60% of the population is white, 60% of your commercials should represent that population, for crying out loud, right? But according to these people, we use Sydney Sweeney, start talking about genes, like there's no negative connotation behind any of that commercial at all. It's just talking about good genes. Like, but these people, this is Nazi propaganda, this is racist and all this other nonsense. Well, what does that even matter? Like, it really, really doesn't matter because they're not being overt or covert with any sort of racism. They're not injecting racism into the commercial itself. So they're just being overtly positive. Good genes, for crying out loud. Like, what American Eagle needs to do, and they've actually come out and made a statement and said, we don't care about the woke nonsense. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep this ad going. We don't care. Good on them. Do not bend the knee. Do not capitulate to the nonsense. But they absolutely do need to come out and make a similar commercial with a black lady, with a Hispanic lady, blah, 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 blah. Let's be fair about this, to be honest with you, and shut the woke left down. This is what I love doing. I love shutting them down, because that would mean that all this uproar and hysteria over this nonsense, over this simple ad campaign, would just go by the wayside. It would just fall away. And they would have to shut their freaking mouths about this. And I love whenever you can get in an angle and shut the woke left up, because honestly, I know we have freedom of speech in this country, but sometimes some people need to invoke their Fifth Amendment rights and shut up, for crying out loud, because you're not making any sense. There is nothing overt or covert about any of this. It's just they want to get mad about something, and you know what? animosity and hatred drives views. So people, they want to get out there and they want to feign outrage about something that there's really nothing to outrage over. They're just making all this stuff up as they go. It's kind of like pseudo outrage, if you will, because we can all see that you guys are not really pissed off and you're grasping at straws to try to make some sort of argument here. Like, she probably makes the best argument that you can. However, once again, what does it even matter at this point? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't matter, because you're just promoting good genes, for crying out loud, right? That is not to speak negatively of any other race or ethnicity or whatever it may be. You're not speaking negatively about anything. So why are these people taking it negatively? Maybe it's because they feel some sort of way about themselves. Maybe they're just projecting onto everybody else, you know, to keep the eyes off of them or whatever. I notice the left and Democrats tend to do this a lot. They tend to do this a whole lot. They love to project. Every accusation is a confession with these people. Like, once again, you know, with Trump, it's constant with Trump. Oh, Trump's a racist. Trump's a Nazi, and he's Orange Hitler. And these people are really the fascists. Look at what Joe Biden did, for crying out loud. Silencing voices online, going after his political opponents for no reason, right? Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, Trump is doing the same thing. Now, there's a vast difference between going after people that broke the law and just going after your political opponents and making up crimes that they didn't commit. Yeah, that's what Joe Biden did, as a matter of fact. Donald Trump, there's no proof that he committed any of those crimes. They had to make up a underlying crime and then ask the jury, talking about the falsifying documents trial or whatever. They had to make up, like, ask the jury, you decide if there was an underlying crime, to elevate a misdemeanor to a felony just so they could convict Donald Trump. It was a multiple choice, for crying out loud. You got A, B, or C. Choose one. You don't even have to agree on which crime he committed. You just have to agree that he committed some sort of underlying crime. But the fascinating point to that is he was never charged. The FEC said he did not commit those crimes. There was no underlying crime at all. They had to make stuff up to go after Donald Trump. Once again, projection by the left, projection by Democrats. It's all fascinating, but I've got another clip, so let's keep going.
I remember a model called Tess Holliday being the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine. She was 305 pounds and 5'2". And the whole piece was about how incredibly empowering this was and what an example of body positivity it was. When in fact, it was an unbelievably dangerous promotion of morbid obesity. That's what it was. Because if you're 305 pounds and 5'2", you are dangerously fat, and you are more likely than not to die from the repercussions of being that size. And yet the woke left went, look at this, isn't this fantastic? And yet here you have a model who's not super slim, Sydney Sweeney. She's got a very rounded, normal body, right? She's not like a stick insect supermodel. And she looks hot, and she's wearing jeans, and she happens to be white and happens to have blue eyes. To try and turn this into a racial thing or to compare it to the Nazis, even by woke standards, seems to me ridiculous.
Okay. First, just for clarity, Sydney Sweeney is a size 0. So even when we say that someone is a normal size, that suggests that the average person is a size 0. The average person, the average woman in this country is not. So at all moments when we make these observations that seem neutral, we're actually assigning a value. So if I am a size 8 as a woman, and you just said on national TV as the most important, coolest, most handsome host in the history of television, if you say that it's normal to be a size 0, then yeah, when I'm a size 8, now I feel like something's wrong with my body. Similarly,
so she doesn't look normal to you, Sydney Sweeney.
She looks normal. 38 seconds, by the way, for interruption. Great, you're on a new record. I think she looks normal.
Wow, you're really touchy today.
I think I'm just teasing you, Piers. I'm just very, very upset about the world, you know, and I need a hug from you, and you're not in the studio with me.
Well, there are more important things to be worried about than Sydney bloody Sweeney. Trust me. Honestly, there is literally war. There is war raging around the world. There is famine, right? And you're getting your knickers in a massive twist about Sydney Sweeney.
That's actually where I'm going. Right? I mean, this conversation started with.
How'd you know her dress size, but not her hair color?
Because I just Googled it when he said it, and it comes up. Because I just typed Sydney Sweeney dress size, and it says Sydney Sweeney typically wears a size 23, which is equivalent to US size 0. I looked it up to make an argument while he was talking. Google is amazing in that way. I had no desire to do it with the ad because it wasn't my point. As a scholar, my point was to see how the audience receives something, not how I, at a meta level, can look at it.
She's not a size 0, by the way. As an admirer of the female
she's not a size 0.
She is not a size 0.
Okay, so now I'd like to respond to the actual point. I concede. Whatever size she is, my point is to say any woman has a normal size. It assigns a value. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong about your value. I'm saying we're always articulating values when we say things. Putting a 300-pound woman on a cover is not in and of itself a problem. If I put a 300-pound woman on a cover and say, that's the healthy body, then I'm implicitly saying that other bodies are not. And to your point, I think that might be problematic. At the beginning of this conversation, Deborah, I think your name is Deborah, forgive me if I got your name wrong. I think you mentioned the river to the sea, right? The river to the sea is not in and of itself, those words for me are not genocidal. I know they're not genocidal, but to you, you hear it differently. Why? Because you're looking at history, you're looking at context, you're looking at intent, you're looking at action, and you're making a different judgment. Your judgment's wrong. That statement is absolutely not Gaza needs to be free. And
no, it's not. It comes from the literal charter from the river to the sea. We must genocide all Jews. So no, I'm not looking at context. I'm looking at the literal Hamas charter and what these people believe.
That would be context. Deborah, okay, again, allow me to finish. I never interrupted you. The Hamas charter would be context. That's my point. You're not looking just at the words. You're looking at other pieces of evidence. That's called context. You're literally making my point. My point to you is...
Because words have meaning. Words don't just mean nothing. Sorry, I will let you ask your question.
And so do, listen to me, words do have meaning. And the meaning isn't just about literal decoding. It's also about the meanings that are encoded into words. It's about the history. It's about other factors. And I'm telling you, the same way you're telling me as a Jewish person, there are certain words, certain images, certain tropes that impact you because of the history of anti-Semitism. I'm telling you that same history of white supremacy that makes anti-Semitism so ugly also makes anti-Black racism so ugly. I didn't tell you I was offended by this argument. You keep saying, you said get a job and stop being offended. I think we all have jobs here, and I don't think any of us are offended per se.
I wasn't speaking just to you. I was speaking to the people offended by this. If you have time to sit and make TikTok videos complaining about a woman in an ad, you probably don't have bigger things to care about. Like you said, there's much bigger problems.
I agree.
Right. You know, I never understood this whole body positivity movement. Like, you know, with that ad for Lizzo or whatever, why would we want to promote obesity, for crying out loud? Why do we think it's okay to tell people that obviously have health problems, that are obviously overweight, that it's okay to be overweight, right? Like, I'm not in the best shape of my life. I strive to do better, for crying out loud. That's as simple as it is. Why do we think it's okay to be less than normal, right? I understand. Look, I get it. Normal is average. Average is a range of sizes, for crying out loud. If you are outside of those sizes, that means there's something wrong. That goes both ways, right? Most people are bigger, but there are some people that are anorexic looking, that are really, really skinny, that don't need to be that skinny, right? It goes both ways. Why would you want to look that way in either direction, for crying out loud? Look, we need to make ourselves better. This is how we make society better. And if something making yourself better hurts your feelings, maybe you need to look within yourself and ask yourself why that is. Maybe we touched on something we shouldn't. Right? Once again, like I always tell people, if you want to get offended, then be offended and stay offended, for crying out loud. But you are the one that you take it how you want to. Like I always tell my son, life is what you make it. If you want to take something in and make it negative and draw out all your hate on that negativity, then go right ahead, but that's how you're going to live your life. Don't look at things negatively. Always try to put a positive spin on everything. This is what I tell my son. Always put a positive spin. There's always positivity within the deepest, darkest depths of everything. There's always a silver lining to just about everything, and that's how we should view That's how we should perceive the world, for crying out loud. We should look at everything positively, right? Like, positively. I think that's what I just said. I didn't mean to, but whatever. It is what it is. But, you know, if you're overweight, why not try losing that weight? Why be content with being overweight? Why not strive to be something better? This is what I think all humans should do. We should always strive to be the best versions of ourselves. We are not good as we are. We need to be better constantly, even if we are the best. I know that may sound contradictory a little bit, but it's not. We can always be better. There's always room to grow, if you will. That's what I'm trying to get at here. That whole body positivity stuff, I just don't get that at all. Once again, I am not the best version of myself. I have been overweight in the past, and I've overcome that overweightness, if you will. I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't huge or anything like that, but when I was a kid, I was kind of chunky, if you will. And when I realized it, I was like, no, I got to screw this. I started running. I started playing basketball. I started doing all these activities, and I lost that weight, right? And I've been like how I am right now ever since. Just barely overweight. Just barely overweight. I'm just considered medically overweight, if you will. Not really fat or obese or anything like that. Just, you know, with my body size, I should be like 10, 15 pounds less. But, you know, at this point, I really don't care. I still exercise. I still do stretches and all this. I don't really work out or anything like that because my day job, I lift a lot of weights. So, you know, I don't really need to go and work out or anything like that, but I still strive to be a better person, right? I'm not just content with going to work, getting a paycheck, and going home. I love to voice my opinion online and whinge about things online, but, you know, I just don't understand this body positivity nonsense. Let me know what y'all think about it down in the comment section. You know, and in closing, I find it fascinating that Piers happens to bring up that there's all this problems in the world. We've got war going on all over the place, and you guys are worried about an ad campaign, for crying out loud. Well, Piers, my dude, think about what you're saying right now. You're making an entire panel, an entire video on this ad campaign, for crying out loud. Why not talk about something different? You're the one that brought this topic up, Piers. And this is why Piers, he can't really be taken seriously. I've had some viewers come in the past and say, well, they don't watch my videos that much anymore because I cover Piers Morgan Uncensored. Well, you know, I make a lot of videos, by the way. I Monday through Friday, I make 3 videos a day. 2 news topical videos, and then one about, you know, congressional committee hearings. I kind of react to those. I love doing those. I just started doing those because I enjoy doing them, for crying out loud. I love responding to things. But I still do my news videos every single day, so y'all make sure and check those out. They're enlightening, to say the least, right? And, you know, to be fair to some of these people, like Democrats always come in and blah, 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 blah. But I always read left-wing news. Always read left-wing news because I have a right-wing bias, for crying out loud. So I try to offset that by reading left-wing news. And we go over all that. So I try to be fair as I possibly can, right? Sometimes my opinions aren't fair. But once again, the news articles, they'll always give opinions from a left-wing bias. So there you go. I just offset that bias so you can take the news however you want, right? Don't take my opinions as gospel, for crying out loud. So it is what it is. But I think that's all I got on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. I find it all fascinating, if you ask me, because once again, there are a lot of problems in the world, and people are deciding to get enraged by an ad campaign. It's fascinating, but y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And if you could, click that join button, y'all. Sign up and become a member. Help this channel grow and expand and prosper out into the ether. Y'all do all that for me, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.